Back and looking a little more hobo-like than usual. If you see me squirming, it's because my cat is stabbing me. And he might get close to some sensitive areas, like the Achilles tendon. Just for proof. There he is. Alright, as usual, spoilers, so you got 5 seconds to get out of the video before I start talking about things that may spoil this episode for you. Okay, time to get rolling here. We start off with some drama, and unfortunately, we talk about drama a lot in this episode, which is something I don't particularly like to do, but it's reality TV, and if I was just talking about one fight, this would be a very short video. After the Dustin Peg, Luis Gagno fight, we have Diego Brandao going mildly insane, going, I will take your head off, Siler, I will take your head off, etc. Guy has way too much anger. Way too much, because we haven't seen that Siler's done anything to him. Siler seems like a very low-key guy. Just doesn't seem like the type to inspire this kind of immense hatred and anger that Diego seems to be feeling. Whatever. He also punches the wall. That's a bad idea. It's not as big a deal as Bisping was kind of making out of it, that he might have broke his hand. But it's still stupid. It's still really kind of retarded. They handled the spy thing with Dobson by basically telling Steven Siler, instead of fighting Diego now, you're going to fight him later. Dustin Neace is going to fight Akira. We're going to try and get Akira fat, Dustin in shape, and we're going to try and make Brandao explode even more. And that kind of seems to work. Anyways, another thing that we see is Dustin Neace gets a hat from Mayhem, which Josh Ferguson takes offensively because it's called swagger jacking. Whatever. I don't care. Sufficient to say, Akira helps Ferguson steal it. Triggers off this whole huge thing where basically Neace fucks with Akira's shit. Akira wants to fight him in the garden, and that just sounded weird when he kept saying, I'll see you in the garden, I'll see you in the garden, bare knuckle. Stupid, stupid. This leads me to my Akira is also a complete nutball theory. Anyways. We get to the fight announcements. We get Akira versus Dustin. We get a fight at the announcements. Scrum up. I actually was liking how the coaches were trying to break that up. I like that. Mayhem was on the same page as Bisping for a change. It was weird. Creepy almost. Bit strange. Then we get an argument between the coaches, which I think was more an issue with one of Mayhem's assistant coaches saying something to Bisping, and then Bisping kind of not going after the coach, but getting in his face and Mayhem defending it. In the end, it is what it is. I don't really have a problem with this. We've seen these kind of scuffles at boxing weigh-ins and MMA weigh-ins before, where you know what, heat of the moment, whatever. I hold it against neither guy. You can disagree with me or not. Doesn't really matter. Akira apparently doesn't listen very well in training either. That's something I noticed during the training montage. It's a bit weird. Well, not really. Bisping seems to have picked a lot of guys who don't particularly listen. Mayhem also talks to Dobson about it. Dobson, admits to being the rat and everything. He still doesn't feel bad about it, and that's what kind of repetitively confuses me about this, is the argument people would have for Dobson is they're his buddies, this is not a team sport, etc. But you're training with a team, and if they don't feel like you're part of the team, they may not give you the training that you need. And additionally, the time to hurt someone in training is really there. If someone were to actually do it, they are a bigger scumbag than Dobson. But I don't know in a sport that does have some meatheads whether I would particularly want to take that chance if I were him. That's kind of my thing. And it's just stupid. The other thing is he's telling them Bisping's team all the fights, not even just his friends fights. Like, he's friends with Ferguson, he's friends with Luis, and he's friends with Diego, but it's been telling everyone, like, hey, Marcus, you're going to fight. Hey, Steven, you're going to fight. It's like Marcus Primage and Steven Boss aren't any more your friends than your own teammates. And they're not your teammates. So, like, maybe you just say, hey, Diego, you're not fighting this week. Or, Ferguson, you are fighting Bedford. I wouldn't have told him about the broken hand. But, I mean, it's kind of a bit much. Anyways, moving on to the fight, because I don't think there's really anything else other than Bisping's team stealing the M and putting it on the handicap space, which would later on get Mayhem's car towed, which is stupid on Mayhem's part, dude. It's a handicap space, doesn't matter if there's an M. Although, good question. The UFC training facility, how much usage do you think that handicap parking really gets? Seriously. Question. And they phoned the tow truck, whatever. And this kind of highlights why I don't like Bisping so much, and it's going to come up again later, is that he tries to play the innocent guy. Like, you told Mayhem, or Mayhem told his fighters to mess up his locker room. His team's doing the pranking. When it's your team with Akira who started the pranking and have continued to prank. I don't really have a problem with the pranking. Don't get me wrong. That's not what I'm getting in here. But both teams are pranking. Don't try to pull this holier-than-thou routine, which is something Mayhem doesn't do in this sense, is that he seems to take, like them taking his tires. He seems to be very, I don't want to say accepting, but chill about his team getting pranked and him getting pranked. That's kind of the thing. Like, he dishes it out and takes it, whereas Bisping dishes it out and can't seem to take it. That's my point. That just highlights the difference between the two, because it has been asked in the past as to why I hate Bisping's douchebaggery, and I put up with it from other fighters. Moving on. All right, fight time finally. First round. Stand-up is underwhelming. I think I gave a slight edge to Neace when I was just counting up strikes landed, things like dictating the pace and so on like that. So, slight edge to Neace. Neace throws this stupid kick, though, that gets him taken down. And the crux of this, and the big point of the fight, is Neace gets a heel hook on Akira. Akira appears to tap. I don't think he did, because I believe the UFC definition of a tap is 1, 2, 3, and I believe he only does it twice. Could be wrong. Could be wrong, because it kind of allows you to put your hand there and try and push off with it, because if one tap was considered a tap, then we would probably get some, additional taps that we would not have normally got, because, I mean, you put your hand down like that to push off and so on. That being said, it should have dealt. Well, I'll save a bit on that later. And in Neace's case, you know what? You go until the ref stops you, regardless of a tap. You go. You break his ankle. I mean, you're the one who's talking about, I might hold the choke a little long or whatever. You know what? You break his heel and leg and mess it all up, because the heel hook kind of works on like the whole leg. Someone was saying, you shouldn't take his ankle off. Oh God, that's wrong. No, a heel hook will damage the ankle too, along with the knee, and pretty much all the way up the leg. Continuing on. So, end of the round, Neace gets a takedown, which is what he should have been doing the whole time. Overall, I think I gave the round to Neace, although the time Akira stayed on top makes me somewhat understand how someone could give it to Akira. I don't agree with it. I understand it. Second round, after Neace is just pissed off about, the fake tap and everything, he goes out there, he stands with him again. He's doing okay, but then he gets clipped with the right hand dropped. And the rest of the round is Akira on top of him. With I think like 3 minutes, should have really finished him with ease, but couldn't. Almost fell into a triangle choke a couple times and a couple other things. Neace did a good job of surviving. I'll give him credit, but I think it was more Akira just not completely letting the beast out the bag. you know what I mean, which is ironic because Neace's nickname is the Beast and Akira's is Akira. Anyways, so we get to second round's over. They go to the corners. Akira comes in with the, I'm going to guess, machine gun, thinking he won type of thing, just moving the cat type of thing where, you know, he thinks he won and he's celebrating, and I can see how he thinks he won and so on. But he goes right into Neace's corner, and we get a scrum, and this is where, again, Bisping comes off as just a hypocritical dickhole, and that is he's going, because he got sprayed by water. From the view, I can't even tell if it was Mayhem or one of Mayhem's coaches. Let's say it's Mayhem, just for the drama sake of it. I couldn't make it out. So someone did. Please post. So he gets sprayed with water, and he's like, "You gotta control your team, Miller. You gotta control your team." And it's like, you just let your fighter walk over to the other team's corner, disrupt it with the machine gun thing, in the middle of a fight, mind you, because this is going to come in later, and you're telling Mayhem he has to control his team. And you have another fighter who's like charging into Mayhem's dressing room going, "I'm going to take your head out, Siler." And Mayhem has to control his team. Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. There's again the Bisping crap. Kaiser comes in and says, "I don't know the name of your fighter, but he's about to be a suspended fighter," and so on. And the deal with that is, and some people on the forum jumped in, like, why? Because he's trying to stand up for bad sport. I don't think Kaiser cares about bad sportsmanship. This is the fact that at the end of a second round, a TUF fight isn't over. There could be a third round, and you went to the other corner. That's, I think, the problem. In order to actually know, we would have to ask Kaiser. But that is what I think the problem was, is the fight isn't over, and you're over there showboating, getting into the other fighter's face. Also loved how Bisping just completely goes silent when Kaiser comes in. Lovely. Anyways, we do get the decision, majority decision for Akira. I understand it. I don't agree with it. That would be my point. We have Siler Brandow next. And it looks like we have TJ Dillashaw trying to say how he wants Roland Delorme and not, I'm assuming, John Dobson. Which is weird, because I think he actually beats Dobson worse than Delorme. Weirdly. Even though Dobson's a better fighter than Delorme. I will explain that in my next video. Anyways, that's all.